Hello guys, my name is Dorkis Hernandez and today I'm gonna share with you a short review of this great book called Another Country by James Baldwin. Also, we are going to see some of the literary elements like the plot, the characters, setting, theme, and point of view. But before I start, this is a phrase written by James Baldwin that I like so much and that is belong to a part of this great book and says he wanted to go home and lock his door and sleep. He was tired of the trouble of real people. He wanted to get back to the people he was investing, whose trouble he could bear. Now let's see who is James Baldwin. James Arthur Baldwin, born August 2nd, 1924, New York, and died on December 1st, 1987, was an American essayist, novelist, and playwright. In numbers, essays, novels, plays, and public speeches, James Baldwin spoke of the pain and struggle of Black Americans and saving power of brotherhood. So let's talk about the brief review of this great novel. Another Country is a novel by James Baldwin, written in 1962. The novel is primarily set in Greenwich Village and Harlem, New York City in the late 1950s. In Another Country, James Baldwin presents a loose grouping of people who are linked to one another chiefly by the fact of their being outsider, what we know typically refers to as the other. In fact, we can perceive in the novel that Rufus Scott is wandering the streets and hard on his luck when he meets a white woman named Leona. They fall in love and live together, but Rufus is angry at the world and at the people around him who he believes condemn their irrational relationship. In his anger and in fear, he begins to mistreat Leona, who becomes mentally unstable. Leona is sent to psychiatric hospital and then take away from New York by her brother. Rufus lose his job and become a drunkard, grieving from the loss. And then he turns to his brighter friend Vivaldo for help, but Rufus sinks into lonely despair and kills himself by jumping off a bridge. The plot. Another Country tells us the downfall of Jack Stromer Rufus Scott. He begins a relationship with Leona, a white woman from the South, and introduces her to his social circle, including his close friends. Rufus becomes habitually physical abuse of Leona, and she is admitted to a mental hospital in the South. Depressed, Rufus returns to Harlem and commits suicide, jumping off the George Washington Bridge. So the rest of the book explores relationship between Rufus' friends, family, and the wake of his death. Finally, Rufus' friends cannot understand the suicide and experience some guilt over his death. Afterwards, they become closer. Vivaldo also begins a relationship with Rufus' sister, Ida, which is influenced by racial tension and Ida's bitterness after her brother died. Characters. In the characters, we have Rufus Scott, Leona, Vivaldo, Cax, and Ida. Rufus Scott is the main character in the beginning of the novel. He is a black jazz musician who meets and falls in love with a white woman. Leona. Leona is a Rufus girlfriend. She fled from the south of the north in order to escape her family problems and create a new identity for herself. Vivaldo. Vivaldo is a Rufus' best friend. He ends up dating Ida, the Rufus' younger sister, after Rufus died. Cass. Cass is Rufus' friend. She struggled in her relationship with her husband, a distant man who doesn't show her much affection or attention. And finally, Ida. Ida is Rufus' younger sister. She's an inspiring singer. The setting. The novel takes place in Greenwich Village in early New York City in the late 1950s. New York plays a determined role in the life of the book's eight principal characters. Also, Manhattan has formed the novel's two African American characters, like Rufus Scott and his younger sister Ida, culturally and socially. The theme. Another country was unique at the time in its attempt to explore race relationship through romantic love instead of homosocial friendship. In fact, we can observe during the novel some of them, like race and nationalism, love, willing ignorance, and sexual identities. Race and nationalism is because Rufus is living in a predominantly race area. His life is constantly affected by an internalization of this racism to the point where he hates himself. The second one is love. This is from the relationship between Aidan and Vivaldo, serve as a microscope from the relationship between African Americans and white liberals. The third one is willing ignorance. I think this is one of the most significant themes in another country is one willingness to ignore parts of reality. And the last one can be sexual identities because Rufus is the most part strange but has had affair with a gay man. Eric is clearly gay but has an affair with a woman. And Cass and ironically satisfy her in a way her cool husband. So finally, what we can say about the point of view? Well, in the point of view, I could say that Baldwin gave me a lonely, desolate, angry, violent vision of New York from the point of view of a group of liberal artists and how they live the racial tension between blacks and white people. In their turn, they had to deal with conflict that show how much or how not too so liberal they were. And I will say that their search for meaning, love, connections was and is a universal regardless of race, but racial historical differences will raise their ugly heads because I might say that this history is about something that happens back there in the 50s and 60s far away in American, but at the same time I can say that nowadays it's happening so it's not far away and also still relevant.